Welcome to the Real Estate Investment Nomad podcast. My name is Nathaly, and today we're going to be talking about international investments with Mexico, here with Maria, and how can you invest in Mexico with financing that you can do from the US into Mexico for properties over there as well. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me. So glad to be with you here.
Thank you. So, Maria, here, we're in Dallas right now. I was talking about how you can actually finance a property in Mexico. Many banks didn't do this before, it's something very new. Actually, how many years has this been possible? Because many people had to buy cash before, right?
Yeah, well, traditionally in Mexico, foreign investors used to be a cash market.
Mm-hmm.
There were no options for people not nationals eh, to find financing on properties in Mexico. And at MOXI, we started doing this kind of loans. We started on 2017 and 2017, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
and we started in Los Cabos, Baja California,
Mm-hmm.
which is our main market. So we started making the possibility to people from US to buy properties in Mexico in the same conditions that they buy them in the US.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that the market in the US, more than 80% of the real estate transactions are made with mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
And in Mexico, the mortgages were normally they are given by Mexican banks. So, and the mortgages for Mexicans come mostly from banks that get the money of the savings of the clients, and they then give the loans on the mortgages for U.S. for sorry for Mexican people. And we started making the possibility
Mm-hmm.
to U.S. and permanent residents in the U.S. People in order that they could buy properties in Mexico in the same conditions they buy in in,
Here
in
in the
their own
US.
country. So what we started mostly it was second home buyers and maybe on a retired moment of their lives. But since the market have been changing so much, see after the pandemic, now we are doing transactions not only for people that are retiring in Mexico, but also many more people that are buying properties in Mexico as an income
Mm-hmm.
property. And those are mixed use investors. And what we do is that we ask them to have a FICO score of over 700 points to be permanent resident or US citizen, and to buy a property that will be more over $300,000 in
Mm-hmm.
Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I think you mentioned that only Americans can apply right now, but not Canadians yet, right?
No, Moxie is not only focused on the U.S. market because we accomplished to do the loan in the same way with the same rules and the same characteristics of the loans in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
with the only difference that the collateral stays in Mexico.
Okay.
And we have not get into the Canadian market yet, but we have a commercial partnership with a company that is Mexican also, which is Hircasa, and they have a product that the name is Most Mortgage, and they are covering the Canadian market, and they also are lending to U.S. Citizens also that wants maybe to buy land or build a house. Because as a mortgage company, we do not get into those kind of
Mm-hmm.
loans. So at the end, in Mexico, it's possible for U.S. people and Canadians to buy properties
Mm-hmm.
with mortgages.
Okay, that's great. Great news. So it's been less than 10 years that this product has been out there, right?
Yeah.
And before that, people had to just save some money or cash or do a HELOC
Yes,
in their
mostly
homes here.
they used to do a HELOC in the U.S. and they used to bring the money to Mexico
Mm-hmm.
and buy the properties like in cash. But at the end, it's a mortgage. but with a collateral in the U.S. and they used to get the mortgage on their principal residence, and now they don't have to do that anymore. So they
Yeah.
keep their assets liquid in the U.S. and they only can just get the loan on the property that they are buying in Mexico.
That's awesome. So based on what you just mentioned, we have different types of products. So we have the MOXI product, which will be for Americans. They can live in the US and justify their income, and their credit can be here.
Yeah.
And they can buy in Mexico for property there. And then we have, you say, Must Mortgage,
Must
which is a
mortgage,
different
yes.
company from here.
Here,
Casa.
Here Casa, it's a company.
Is a company that.
Yes, and
so
the Here Casa, it's a huge mortgage company in Mexico.
Okay. And they're more flexible on the nationalities, let's say.
Yes, they also have loans for expats. They have certain restrictions on expats because they have to, there's a lot of people that work mostly on the hospitality business, that they work for hotels, and they are maybe from Argentina or from Spain or from Italy, but it's people that came to live to Mexico, and they have been working in the country and have income that they can use that income in order to be approved for a mortgage. And yes, they are also giving loans, and they do it for Mexicans.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's great, because then at least we have two avenues. And you said let's talk about the requirements for MOXI. So Americans, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. What do I need to bring to you?
Well, the
so I
first
can get
the three important things is being a permanent resident or U.S. citizen, having a FICO score over 700, and that the price of the property has to be over $300,000.
Okay.
Okay. From there, they can start the process. We are a tech company, so we receive all the applications and all the documentation through a digital platform. And we are very effective on the process. It's very transparent. So the beginning at the beginning of the process, we receive the application of the potential borrower. That doesn't mean that we start the process, because we do not touch their FICO score. So after they initiate the process, we set a discovery call with one of our mortgage advisors, which are the loan officers that can give all the assistance to the client in order to find the best way to make the file in order to be approved. So from that part, which is the pre-approval of the client, he only has to fill the application, talk with the mortgage advisor, and then he will start the process, like letting him know what is the income, taxes, and everything. And from there, he gets a pre-approval. After the pre-approval is positive, we start working with the property. Okay. And we have to have both sides approved. Sometimes the client is approved, but not the property, because we have to do the due diligence on the property, and we have to look for the title search in order to go to the conditional approval.
Okay.
And the whole process will be depending on the availability of all the requirements from the client side and the property side. It will take maybe from 60 to 90 days to close. In Mexico, as many people know, on the border and on the sea coast, it has to be the acquisition of the property has to be made through a trust. Well, in MOXI, we take care of everything. We take care of the appraisal, of the fiduciario, which is a trust that we have to do, of the notario, and all the legal and all the closing costs that are involved. They are not included in the loan, but we take care of all the players, and we give all the information to the client in order for them to be familiar, to be friendly, and also to be enjoyable. Because when you are buying a property as a second home in a paradise
Yeah.
or in a magic town. It has to be enjoyable. Yeah.
No, that's great. So then it's pretty straightforward. So if you're used to buying in the US, it will be a seamless process on what is required.
Yes, it would be almost feel like you are buying in your own country, and that's what it's so we have so much success with this market because we the client feel the process very familiar.
Yeah. So then for that would be like if you're looking for a property, 300,000 and up, will they be, it has to be ready properties, right? Like ready to title. Sometimes
Yes.
people and clients ask, can I finance pre-construction? Can I finance land? And we can talk about mass
Yeah,
mortgage in a bit, but
we
for
do,
MOXI,
but a mortgage cannot be done until the property exists.
right.
But what we do with pre-sale, it's that in many projects that are in pre-construction, what we do is we pre-qualify the client in order to know that if the client is going to be able to get a loan from us to pay at the end of the construction.
Okay.
Okay, and normally if the developer is asking for monthly payments, what we do is that at the end we pay up to 65% of the property value. So if the client put a down payment and do monthly payments, and let's say he already pay 60% of the value, at the end when we do the mortgage, we go and we pay to the developer or the owner of the property the 40%, and that 25% that is left of the balance, we reimburse it to the client. So
Oh,
the
that's great.
client, if the client has to make monthly payments, he will get back the money that he put on the property up to 65%.
That's really good. That's really
Yeah.
good news because then you can leverage the pre-construction prices. Once it's ready, leverage the bank.
Yes, yes. Now, the key here, and the only thing that you have to be very aware is that even if you're pre approved on the loan, you have to maintain the same financial
Status, let's say.
status that you have, and just don't go buy another thing or just get in another debt, because if it moves, at the end we have to run the process again before the delivery of the unit. And that's when sometimes we have pre-approved clients, but let's say that at the end, in the middle of that the term, they lose their jobs, or they just go buy furniture or
Or
whatever.
buy a car.
Yeah, no,
You're like, no,
that's what
don't
we
destroy
ask.
your
Just
loan.
don't move until the closing.
Awesome.
So
No, it's
yeah.
a very good requirement. So that's the same here in the US. So then
Yeah.
when we're in the process of closing,
Yes.
we advise not to buy anything big. That's great because, I mean, we didn't have this choice before. And the closing period is not that long either. It's like about 90 days. When you were talking about the properties that need to be also qualified, right? You need to advise on the developer because, as many people know, that in Mexico you have to be very mindful what you buy
Yeah.
and who you buy it from.
Yeah.
So at least going with the bank, they're going to secure that
Yeah,
that
yeah,
property. They don't
yes.
put the money anywhere that it's not
Yes.
safe, right?
And it's also, and that's why buying through a mortgage, it's safe and transparent. Because at the end, we are going to do the due diligence of the property. So that will make the client to be sure that that product that he's buying has no issues, they will not have any trouble in the
liens.
future, and they are making a secure investment.
Yeah, no liens, no issues with the developer
Yes.
owning money and delivering
Yes.
units. Yeah, this is I think the most important and secure part. When I was learning more about the mortgages in Mexico, was the assurance that the bank will assess the price, the real price, because some developers, they're like, okay, yeah, this one is 300,000, but the market says it's maybe 250 or 200. The
Yeah.
bank will not pay more than what it's worth, which is
Yeah,
good.
no, yes, that's why you have to be very sure that you're working with the right persons in Mexico, and it's always good to have a partner there. What we are doing right now is doing this business bridge between Mexico and U.S. Because even though that we are not in the real estate business, we have been working with companies that are putting product in the market that we can just like advise or recommend, and they say, wait, this is a safe developer. You can we think that maybe if you're looking for a property, depending on where that you are looking and what kind of property and the profile of your client, we can just say, hey, well, this is the developers. These are the developers that are trusted in Mexico, that you can start talking with them and maybe offering the product. And the developers in Mexico are also very interested in generating that channel that goes straight, sorry, from U.S. market to the Mexican product.
Makes it easier to select something from a pool of safe investments.
Because the thing that maybe more agents could be doing more business in Mexico, but they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And they are not like very sure.
They can get the client in trouble.
Yes, and I don't want to get in trouble because
the clients too.
Yes, at the end you have clients that maybe you have already sold them a house, a primary home here in the U.S., but maybe they are potential buyers of second homes in Mexico. But if we make that easy for you and we say, okay, you have these projects that are in Mexico that we have a lender or that we know them and that we can say that they are safe, you can just say, okay, I have a product that might be interested for my client, and I have the lending company that we can pre-approve the mortgage for that second home in advance, and you get involved in that, and you are partnering with the broker in Mexico, so that will represent your client in Mexico, and you're gonna make like a team in order for you to be able to also get into the global market and start like having options to invest for your clients that are beyond the border.
Right. Yeah, it's always important to partner up with somebody locally because there's local rules, local regulations, local things that realtors need to be aware of. And by a local agent from here trying to do a transaction in Mexico and they have no idea, they can get the client in a little trouble because
it's not that complicated.
It's not complicated.
It's just that you have to know how to play,
you know,
and what are the rules of the game, and from there, it's once you do that once, you will find out that you can keep on doing that, and it's a sideline income as an agent because you are still attending your primary market, doing what you have done for many years as a real estate agent in the U.S. But now you can have a sideline where you say, hey, I can just get also the benefit or having a referral income from selling properties in Mexico. And I think that's in the future that's going to happen. Because in the world, the people are not static anymore. They are moving all the time, and the next generations are not that as maybe our generation or my generation that used to be in the same place for all their lives. But now I see that the millennials are looking for and they can also work from anywhere in the world. So they want to move. And also for retiring, not all the people is getting retired until they are over 70-year-old. We are like me, we are having like a near retiring.
And early,
before and there's a lot of people that just it's not that they don't want to keep on working or being productive professionally, but they want to change their lifestyle. And for me, for example, I moved to Puerto Vallarta because I love to be near the sea, and I lived all my life in Mexico City, which is it's like Chicago or New York. But then after 50, you start, hey, I would like to be like in a place still working, still being productive, and kind of near retired, which means that you are not 100% retired, but that also is a very interesting market.
No, that's amazing. And more people I feel are retiring earlier. like you were saying, or working from somewhere else that is not like the usual job.
Yeah, and like you
office.
told me that you spent 6 months in Mexico because in Chicago it's so cold.
Yeah.
So you are moving, but you're still working.
We're still working,
and now
yeah.
and you are selling properties in Riviera Maya. So that will be like the future, and that's what we want to encourage. The real estate professionals to be more open to become local.
Fluid.
From local to
Fluid.
global.
Yeah.
Be more global. And well,
less local, more global.
Yes, and you have an amazing country like Mexico.
Yeah.
And yes, and you know that the borderline that we have between U.S. and Mexico is the same distance that you have from Madrid to Moscow. So it's a huge opportunity, because that border that we have, it will keep us. We will be doing more and more cross-border businesses between Mexico and the U.S. But if we can make it easier and understandable and familiar, the people will be more willing to start doing businesses beyond the border.
True. And then for the buyers that are thinking about maybe I don't need 300,000. You mentioned that there's a different product that they could also explore.
Yeah.
It's called Mass
Mortgage.
And for that, like people, because sometimes they're like, I don't know if I want to buy a full house right now, but I do want to retire in the future. So they end up buying land.
No, and of course, one of the things that it's also on trendy, or let's say it's very trendy right now, is that, okay, if you're thinking, it's like me, I said, okay, I would like to retire in Puerto Vallarta. I was still living in Mexico City, so I decided to buy a property over there.
Yeah.
So yes, what the people can do is to have this mixed use, because you can own a property that you can get the money from your renters, and with that money you can pay for the mortgage, which at the end, when you get into the retirement, 100% retirement, maybe you will have a property already paid by your renters, with a mortgage, and you can just move from one city to the other, and you just stay there. But yes, there's a possibility of having with most mortgage options that are less
the amount,
less price properties, and also if they want to build a house or they want to just buy the land, they can do it.
That's great, because they didn't have options before. You had to work with the seller's financing directly with the developer, and you only had set amount of years to pay it off.
Yeah.
And now, if they ended up buying the land back then, maybe now they can actually build something with credits.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we want to learn more about mass mortgage. We're probably going to do a whole full how-to process. Are the requirements similar to MOXI?
Yeah, well, all the mortgage companies, we normally have almost the same thing. What's your income, what's your tax payments, and what are your debts are the three primary things.
Right.
Now, how do you get the money? How much do you still have to pay for whatever you have? And also, what are you reporting to the IRS? And that would be like, and then we go to the property. If the property it's legally fine, if the taxes of the property is paid. So the list of requirements are almost the same. And we can say that as we have our own funding,
that's
maybe
right.
yes, maybe it will be less complicated.
Okay.
Less complex.
Because MOXI,
it's very clear.
You mentioned that it's a fund that is put together.
Yeah,
by
our funding is our fund.
Private investors.
Yes, we do not have the system of the banks that give mortgages, because the banks are taking the money from the savings of the people. But that's how it works in Mexico. Most of the mortgages are made by banks that they give you the mortgage, but the money is coming from the investors in the bank or the savings that they have.
Okay, it makes sense. That's what makes it a little more easier and lenient in a way that you can lend more easily.
Yeah. It's in the U.S. here you have a lot of mortgage companies, so it's like another one, but we are focused on Mexican, and we can make the things happen in Mexico.
That's great, because we didn't have before. If you ask hey, can I finance a property to Bank of America or Chase? They will be like, no, if it's in Mexico, no. Only properties in the US. And now we have that bridge, which is super important for us as a realtors. And if you're in a real estate space, you can help your clients transition easier, faster. They don't have to spend all their cash in one property. Maybe they want to still do investments in the US. They just want to have an extra place in Mexico.
And mostly in the current geopolitical environment that we are experimenting for now, I think that for investors that still want to have a second home in Mexico, and they feel less compromised now that you don't have to get a mortgage on your primary residence in order to go and put the money in cash there. You can just apply for a loan and in the same conditions, and you're not risking your assets in the US. So you can just like still keep on going with the plan of having a second home in Mexico in a transparent and safe way.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody has any questions regarding the mass mortgage, we can talk about more.
Or MOXI,
or MOXI, either or. Because we want to go deeper. We have another chat that we just recorded with Maria about the why to invest in Mexico right now, what's a good idea in 2026, and also the process. How can people find you online so they can follow you and also see your journey?
I have a lot of followers on LinkedIn as Maria Ocampo.
Okay.
My email, it's maria.ocampo@moxi.global.
Okay.
And you can also go into social media of MOXI. I post a lot and I tag MOXI, so you can maybe if you can get into my social media, you can just keep on like finding out more that what I'm sharing with because we are very aware that it's important to give information and to generate content to the audience, so they can just get to know more about us and more about Mexico, and be more confident about investing in another country, which is now, as we were talking, is the future now. The people is going to move in between countries, and you have to go beyond borders.
Yeah, especially because it's the same time zone as the US.
Yes.
So, and I think that my last question is, they can borrow money anywhere in Mexico for any property in Mexico, right?
Yes,
Just to make sure that
we can, even though that we have offices in Los Cabos, Puerto Vallarta, and San Miguel de Allende, but we do operations in the whole country.
Important.
We do Mexico City, Guadalajara. We have done loans in many places that are not used to for foreigners,
right?
But still are people that maybe they just lived here and they go back to Mexico to their own where their home is. It might not be the touristic place, but it could be Oaxaca or Veracruz or
where the family was from,
where the family is, or where So we do operations in the whole country.
That's really good. So for any more information, please post your questions below, and you can follow Maria Ocampo and MOXI, MOXI, in Instagram as well. Thank you so much. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Real Estate Investment Nomad podcast. I hope today's episode has inspired you to explore new horizons in global real estate. Remember, the world is full of opportunities waiting to be discovered. And with the right insights, you can turn those opportunities into successful investments. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content possible. Don't forget to follow us in social media for more resources and updates. Until next time, my friends, this is Nathaly Salas, encouraging you to think big, invest globally, and transform your real estate journey. Safe travels and happy investing.